All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started and make this a course. All right, so we are live. Welcome to another, actually the very first Sacred Account Saturday. We don't do Finance Friday anymore. It's now Sacred Account Saturday. But I'm very happy to see everyone on tonight. If you do, or on this afternoon, if you don't know who I am yet, I'm the owner, founder, CEO of Wealth Dynamics. So my name is Jerry Fetta, and I'm going to talk to you today about finances, about building wealth, right? This is the main focus of these courses. Now, we usually have done these, and I say usually, meaning for the last 4.5 years, we've done these on Friday nights. And we've changed them over to Saturdays. And I'm also changing a little bit of the focus. I want to make this more centric on something we call the sacred account. Okay, it's a concept. And so today I want to teach you about that concept, but I want to tie it in with finances because this is something that once we set it up, we're going to use for a long time. It's going to be there probably longer than any other asset that we own. Okay, it's going to be something we use probably more than any other asset that we own. And so it's important that we know the ins and outs of it, the strategies that we can use, right? So that's really going to be our focus on these courses. Now, the other thing I want to cover is just a few ground rules. So when I talk with people about finances, one of the very first things that I get from people is, oh, that's confusing, right? Finances are confusing. Who's ever said this before? Finances are confusing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's something that, it never came easy for me. Okay, what I like to tell people, and I'm going to tell you today, is it's just vocabulary, right? Like finances are not confusing. We just don't know the words that are being used. And when we don't know the words that are being used, it's very hard to succeed with something when we don't understand what's being said, right? We're kind of out of the loop. And so the same thing happens with finances, just like this would happen with medical terminology. This would happen with, I was working out with someone this week. This happens with exercise where they don't know the terms and it's like, okay, this is confusing, right? And so if we don't learn the words, then we're always going to be in a position where, yes, it does feel confusing, right? And so I want to make sure that we clear that up first. If I say something and you're like, I'm not getting it, it means I used a word that you didn't yet understand. Doesn't mean you're wrong. It actually means I'm wrong. I need to understand my audience better. I need to make sure I'm using words that are simple. I grew up in Big Lake, Alaska. Didn't go to college, right? Don't have a degree. None of that stuff for me, right? And so I grew up simple using regular vocabulary. And so that's how I like to talk. That's how I like to explain things. That's why when I speak, it's more simple, right? Because I'm a simple guy. That's how I think, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is there's also the vocabulary. Beneath that, there's math. Right? If we understand the math and it's not complicated, nothing I share with you is going to be complicated math. It's going to be add, subtract, multiply, divide. That's it. Right? So this can be learned. That's the first barrier that we need to overcome is this can be learned. I just need to understand the words and the math. Okay. Second thing is this isn't something I know already. Okay. I can't tell you like how many times I've told someone, oh, I know that. And then I mess up. Well, apparently I didn't know something. Right? Or I've had people tell me, oh, no, I've already heard this before, but they're not applying it. This used to frustrate me so much when I was a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer and a bodybuilder for several years. Hence me drinking my pre-workout during this today. I'm going to go train legs after. But I was a bodybuilder and a personal trainer for several years. And I would tell people, burn more calories than you consume. Okay? That's all you need to do. It's just math. There's nothing else to it. Burn more calories than you consume. Oh, I know that. I've already heard that. And then, oh, Jerry, I can't seem to lose weight. What's happening? Why isn't it working? Are you eating more than you burn? I don't know. Are you tracking it? I don't know. Right. And I would get so frustrated because it's like, oh, I've heard that. Right. If I'm not doing it and succeeding with it, it does not matter how many times I've heard it. I'm missing something. Goes back to the first point. I can tell you, like, for example, I could tell you compounding annual growth rate over and over and over. It doesn't matter how many times I say that to you. If you don't understand what that word means, it does nothing for you. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and clear it up so I don't give you guys, a misunderstood word on that phrase. Compounding annual growth rate is when we look at the annual return of an investment and we factor in the fact that it can be reinvested and compounded. What's our annual rate come out to be, right? So for example, the compounding annual growth rate on gold might be 8% per year. I can expect as I grow my gold and reinvest and continue to hold it, it's going to grow at 8% a year. That's what a compounding annual growth rate is. It's the main thing that I would use when I'm calculating future returns on an investment. So it's really important that I know it. But unless I know it, hear the definition, see it in action, apply it, get some examples, I'm not going to be able to use it in my life. right? So I have to get rid of the idea that I know this already, okay? Third thing, be a producer today, not a consumer. In today's day and age, it's so easy to be a consumer, okay? What I mean by that is consumption. Like, you know, we expect everything to be given to us, to be handed to us, to be served on a silver platter. Because, you know, I was talking to my godson yesterday. He's like, you know, we're watching the movie Idiocracy. Who's seen this one? Fantastic movie. And he was watching it. He's like, there's no way this is real. And I was telling him, I was like, Sammy, you know, this is, I hate to break it to you, there's people like this, right? And he was like, there's no way. And so I was telling him, you know, when I watch the movie and I see it, right, I need to look at it and be like, okay, this is what consumerism looks like. He was like, well, people are smarter today. I was like, no, we just have technology. People are actually dumber today than they were 50 years ago. Pick up a book that was written 50 years ago and see how many of the words you understand. It's harder to read. They used much more complicated language, right? They were more intelligent. Okay. So the average person today is not smarter because we're consuming. Consumption isn't intelligence. Having Google doesn't make me smart. Having a calculator doesn't mean I'm smart. It just means I know how to use it. Now, it might make me, you know, somebody that knows how to use his resources. Maybe I don't need to know how to use Google. Maybe I don't need to know how to use a calculator or how to do math in my head because I have a calculator, right? So I might be, you know, somebody that's resourceful, but that doesn't mean I have a high IQ. Okay. My focus on this is be a producer, not a consumer. Okay. This is financial freedom we're talking about. Literally 1% of the population gets here. It's not coming on a silver platter. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to get there because you took some master class online. You're not going to get there just because you watched my webinar. You're not even going to get there just because you have a sacred account. There's a lot more to this game, right? Like it's a thing. It's a process I'm going to go through. And so I need to realize and understand that that process rewards production and it penalizes consumption. Wealth rewards production. It penalizes consumption. So if I'm consuming, take, I'm not going to build wealth. It cannot happen. It's mathematically impossible, right? No different than if I'm trying to get in physical shape and I eat. It's not going to happen. It's mathematically impossible, right? Same thing happens there, right? So I want to make sure we have the mindset of being a producer, not just a consumer, and that we are focusing on being a producer with the information. What am I going to do with this information? What am I going to apply here? Okay, what am I trying to learn by being here? You know, what part of my life am I trying to change? And we don't want it to be, oh, I'm just here for the entertainment. Oh, I like Jerry. He's a good talker. You know, he's got a cool new haircut. Let's see what he's doing, right? Like that's not the focus. So production, right? So here's what I want to dive into is this is going to be a lesson today called the foundations of wealth. Okay. And there's two different sides I want to talk about. Okay. The first side is the foundation of wealth from a non-product and a non-tool standpoint, meaning like I'm not talking about products and services and investments right now. I'm talking about the real fundamentals of wealth, regardless of it. Okay. So I'm going to draw this out really quick, just so you guys get the idea here. Oh, real quick. I almost forgot to mention, I'm really bad about this. If you are watching and you have not gotten my book, you're not a client yet, you're just checking out my stuff, get the book. Okay. My number one intention is for you to become a client. I can't help you if you don't become a client. I've got a team of 15 staff. We're here to help get you through your blueprint, to educate you, to get you where you need to be. It starts with this. So go to jerryfetta.com/B2F. Okay. jerryfetta.com/B2F. That's the letter B, the number 2, the letter F, promo. So jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. Let me put this in the chat just because I confused you guys with potentially with two different links here. So it's jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. You can get the book free there. Okay. You cover your shipping, you get the book for free. You will also get a course supervisor to get you through the book. Most people don't finish a book when they buy it. Our team gets you through the book. And you get a coaching call with my team so you can get your questions answered. You can find out what's next for you, what you should be doing. Christina says, I got the paperback book, waiting for it. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, Christina. It should be there any day now. In the meantime, Christina, reach out to my team. If you email Samantha at wealthdynamics.com, tell her that I told you to ask about a free trial for Wealth Dynamics University. You can study that while you wait for the book. And that's something that'll give you some benefit right away. So again, that's Samantha at wealthdynamics.com if you want to get the free trial for Wealth Dynamics University. Okay, so that's my little plug on the book. I'm going to mention that several times throughout because everything I talk about today is from this book. Okay, so let's get into our lesson. So the first thing today, Christine says, "You post the email." Sure, I'll post Sam's email. So it's going to be Samantha at wealthdynamics.com. Just tell her I sent you and you're asking about the 2-week free trial for Wealth Dynamics U. So today's lesson, guys, is fundamentals and foundations of wealth. Okay. Now there are two sides of this. On this side, we have knowledge and behavior. And on this side, we have tools. Right? This gets confused. A lot of times we hear wealth, we immediately think tools. We're like, okay, tax planning. Nope, that's a tool. Investment. Nope, that's a tool. Right? Okay, I need to figure out how to get into real estate. Nope, real estate's just a tool. Right? What is knowledge and behavior? There's 4 points here. Education. If my pen will work. Okay, we have education. We have earning. My pen is not wanting to cooperate today. Earning. We have saving. And we have investing. Right? Now, here's why this is important to start first on this side with knowledge and behavior. Because if you don't know how to use a tool and I give it to you, it's kind of like with the words, you're not going to get anything out of it. Right? When I think finances, like I think about, okay, what do I need to know first? Being in the industry for almost 12 years now, right? I started as a financial advisor when I was 18 years old. I'm now 30, right? So I've been at this for a while. And so I was given all the tools right away. Jerry, here's a retirement account. Go sell this to people. Jerry, here's term life insurance. Go sell this to people. Jerry, here's a mutual fund. Go sell this to people. Here's a 401k. Go sell this to people. These are all tools. So I could sit down with someone and I could show them, and I don't even use a lot of these financial products and tools anymore. I used to, but I could show them the greatest plan in the world, and there would be people that wouldn't implement it. They would be like, oh, okay, we're going to keep doing what you're doing. It's like, well, no. What you're doing is broke. If you miss a paycheck, you're done. You're like splattered on the sidewalk financially. You're finished. What you're doing isn't working. And the people would still be like, well, I want to think about it. You know, I don't rush into anything. And it's like, what? I'm not telling you to rush into things. I'm saying you're in danger right now with your finances. Get out and do something better. And it would come down to education, right? There's different levels of education. So first level would be none, right? I could be someone that has zero education. I'm completely illiterate. My team, we scheduled an email campaign to go out because Halloween is coming up, right? Message subject line, this is scary, ... You open it up and it says there's nothing scarier than being financially illiterate. And we've got the blueprint book here in the email, because once you become financially literate, I know Gene Turpin, he's a client, can attest to this. When you become financially literate, you become aware of all the dumb stuff you used to do, and it scares the hell out of you. You're like, how did I do that? And how did I make it through, right? How did I not know this and still somehow I was okay? That's scary, right? Having zero awareness, you don't see these things, right? Once you become aware and it's like, okay, I see that I'm messing up and I'm not doing this correctly, and I can see all of the dangerous situations that I came through, that's now scary to realize. Okay, so that's the first level of education or knowledge or literacy is none, zero, completely unaware. Okay, the next one is actually it's false knowledge. It's marketing. This is what I had. I was a financial advisor. I thought I was educated. Most people aren't a financial advisor. They didn't take the tests I took. They didn't go through all the Wall Street and state and federal exams to get a formal education in finances. Most people, if you talk to them, though, they do feel like they have some kind of financial expertise, especially if they're older, because we've seen, our parents do it and our grandparents do it. And we've been talked to by enough banks and financial advisors that we feel like we've got it figured out. What if I were to tell you If I'm 60, let's say I'm 60 years old and I've done all the things. And what I mean by all the things is I paid off my house. I've got my retirement account fully funded. I've got money in my CDs at the bank and in my checking account. I've got a couple of annuities. You know, I might have 1 or 2 rental properties. What if I told you every single one of those things is a product and you were marketed to? And what you have is not knowledge. What you have is consumerism, financial consumerism, right? That might blow someone's universe and it might shatter their reality a little bit because they're like, no, I've spent 40 years doing this. And think about, who are you doing it with? Paid off the house, all that money went to the bank. You did the retirement account, all that money went to Wall Street, right? You're doing the annuities, that's going to the bank. What about the CDs you have? Those are with the bank as well. Okay. And all those retirement accounts, when you take the money out, you're going to pay more in taxes on the withdrawal than you would have paid if you never put them in the first place. That's the IRS. Wall Street, banks, and IRS. Those are the 3 bad guys in this story. They're the dumb trio. All they do is figure out how to get your money. That's marketing. They've marketed so well that we think buying their products and services is financial education. Right? This movie, and I'm going to keep using this as an example because it's such a funny movie. On Idiocracy, this movie, they're watering their plants with Gatorade. It's not called Gatorade, it's called Brondo, right? And so they're like, you know, we water the plants with Brondo. And the reason why is Brondo has what plants want. It's got electrolytes. And the guy's like, well, what does that mean? And they would just repeat the same marketing phrase. Oh, well, Brondo has what plants want. It's got electrolytes. Okay, well, what are electrolytes? And the guy's like, what plants want? Yeah, but what are they? Oh, it's what Brondo has, right? And it's the same closed loop circuit, answering the answer with the same thing, answering the question with the same answer in a different way. And that's marketing. Why do you have your money in the bank? Oh, because it's FDIC insured. That's marketing. Did you know FDIC insurance is taxpayer funded? They've only got enough in their reserves to cover 2% of all deposits. Meaning you paid your own insurance. Like, it's taxpayer funded. Bank does something stupid, doesn't pay you back, loses your money. Insurance comes in and pays it, which was really your tax dollars. That's not education. That's marketing. Why do you have the annuity? Oh, it gives guaranteed income and tax deferral. That's marketing. How does it do that? Did you know that they're taking, you know, they're borrowing your money at 3% and then they're trading options. They're making 40, 50, 60% on your money and paying you 3%. That's not a good product. So there's a level of education that feels like education. It's false. It's really just marketing. Okay. The third level down after this is going to be, you know, basic education. I know, you know, enough not to do certain things. It's more conservative. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. Right. And it's more pieced together. I don't have the whole picture yet. But that is a level I need to get to, right? So when I first started, one of my things I realized was I shouldn't give my money to banks. No matter what, I shouldn't give my money to banks, okay? Now, could I build wealth on that principle? No, right? And that's how you know, do I have the full education? Do I get the result? No, I can't build wealth just on, I can't give money to banks. I shouldn't give money to banks. There's more to it than that. Will that help me? Certainly. Is it true? Certainly. Can I apply it? Certainly, but it's not going to get me to build wealth, right? There's more to it. So then we get to the next level down, which is the things I should do. Don't do this instead. Don't give money to banks, become your own bank, right? Now, here's the thing is that's a good level to be at. That gives me some action point. Like, don't do this instead. If I just went around telling you what not to do and never told you what you should do, it would result in confusion, or you just being, you know, like, screw this guy, I'm going to do whatever I want. He doesn't give me the whole answer, right? Financial marketers are phenomenal at this. Oh, invest in real estate, you know, do this. They don't tell you like any of the details. Okay, well, now you're a landlord. They're going to call you at 3 a.m. because their toilet broke. Oh, you don't want that? You're going to hire a property manager. They're going to charge you 10% of your rent. Now you're not going to cash flow as much. You could have put the money somewhere else and made more. You see the little detail missing there? Other than just go invest in real estate. So, you know, there's knowing what not to do, knowing what I should do, then knowing how to do the thing I should do correctly, right? Like, how do I do it correctly? So we're talking about, let's take this all the way through full circle on using the sacred account as an example, right? So first step is what? Give money to banks. This is what most people do. Give money to banks. This is complete And actually, there are people that don't do this even. So let's take this one step back even further. No saving at all, right? This would be like completely illiterate. I'm not even saving money. I've been here before. I've been negative saving where I owed the bank overdraft fees because they covered expenses that I didn't actually have money for my money for in my account. So no saving. Second would be financial consumerism, right? Give all money to banks, give money to banks, right? Then I start getting a little bit wiser and I'm like, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't give money to banks. So then I get to the level of don't give money to banks. No banks. Okay. Now I get into, I could become my own bank. How do I do that? I want to become my own bank. I start hearing this. I see there's the books and the advertising. If you've been a client of mine, we've been talking about this since before it was popular, right? Like if you go on TikTok right now and you Google or you search, infinite banking concept, you're going to see so many videos. Back in 2017, 2016, 2018, when we were doing this, nobody was talking about this. This was not a popular concept, right? So I can see the concept, get life insurance, become your own bank, use that as your own system, right? So become bank. Do I necessarily know how to do that correctly though? No, I'm relying completely on another expert, quote unquote. And I can't even check that they are an expert. I have to believe what they tell me, right? So I want to become my own bank. How do I do that? Now I need to go find someone that does that. I'm telling you, no. Once you have the realization, become my own bank, go learn. Okay. When I learned about the sacred account using high early cash value dividend paying whole life insurance, that's what it's called. We just call it the sacred account. So they don't have to say that over and over and over. When I learned about the sacred account, I spent over 30 hours on Christmas weekend studying about it. Because I was like, this is either the greatest scam I've ever seen, or it's completely legitimate and I'm an idiot. And I haven't known this and I'm a financial advisor. And thankfully it turned out to be number two, right? This was where I realized I was being marketed to, right? As a financial advisor, I was indoctrinated to get people to give money to banks and Wall Street and the IRS. Therefore, I had to be more sold on the Kool-Aid than even they were. Nobody's marketed to more than a financial advisor is on giving money to banks, Wall Street, and the IRS. It's their job to get you to do it. Realize this. Every single product they have at some point ends up in the hands of a bank, Wall Street, or the IRS, no matter what. Right? So you have to get that guy like fully submerged in the Kool-Aid to get him to get everyone else to do it. Right? So I was here, become my own bank. How? Right? This is the next step. How? Doing it correctly. Right? There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. The problem is if I don't know this and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go set up one of these life insurance policies, unfortunately, I might not find out that I did it wrong until 5 years down the road. That's a long runway for a mistake to happen. Like imagine like having something wrong inside your body and not knowing about it for 5 years. By the time you catch it, it might be too late to fix. This is what happens to a lot of people on these policies. They go to whoever, they sign up, they get set up. They don't know how it works. They don't know if it's being done correctly. None of this. And then they get the wrong thing. And they don't find out for 5 years till someone like me or my team tells them this is designed wrong. And then they're like, I just wasted 5 years. Right? If they even get that far, they might just be like, this is dumb. All life insurance is bad. I quit. I'm never doing this again. Right? So then there's, how do I do it correctly? Number 6 is the sequence. Okay, this is when. What's the timing? What's the order? When do I do this? And when I have, I'm out of being marketed to, I know what to do. I know how to do it correctly. And I know how to do it, like when to do it and how to do it in the correct order. That's when I'm financially literate. That's where I can actually have success with the concept. Okay. So this is, guys, this is just on the point of education. We didn't get this. Even if you went to college, you got marketed to by college on finances. Like the stuff you learn in college is curriculum written ultimately by banks and Wall Street. Like they influence what you learn. Why? Because they want you to come out and be a good little retail financial consumer and give them all your money till you're 60. And then hopefully you die before it runs out so they can keep using it. And then when you die, the IRS is going to tax it again. Like this is the system that you're in. So if I want to get out of it, like I said, it's going to take work. I need to study this stuff daily, right? Like it's only, next to like having to eat, sleep, and breathe, it's only the next most obligated thing in my life. Try not going to work and see what happens. Right? Just like try not eating and see what happens. Try not sleeping and see what happens. You have to. You have no choice. This is the way this world works. In the physical universe, you've got to generate income. You have to have money. And if you don't know what to do with it, you can never get out of that. The way you get out is you get the knowledge first. Then you can get financially free. If I don't invest in getting the knowledge, and when I say invest, I mean time and money, right? In getting the knowledge, I can't get free. The system is not designed for that. Nobody is going to help me do it. Anytime I bring it up, they're gonna direct me back to who? Banks, Wall Street, and the IRS every single time. Just watch what happens, right? So the knowledge comes first. This is the main thing. This is again on the behavior side, behavior knowledge. Okay. The next thing is what we call the triangle of wealth. This goes like this. I've got to earn. I have got to save. And I have got to invest, right? Earn. This is the easy one. We know how to work. We know how to go get a paycheck. We know how to be, an employee, a business owner, whatever. This one really doesn't take a lot of tools other than just like ingenuity, hard work, persistence, creativity, like still character stuff. Like if I'm the right person and I go out into the marketplace, I'm going to earn a lot of money. Okay. There's not like there's a special financial product that's going to make me a high earner. It's just me. Like my income is a result of me, right? I am the tool or the asset there. Now, here's the thing. We get the income from the job or from the business. What happens? Think about this. What happens? Where does it immediately go? The bank. No choice. It goes directly to a bank no matter what. So we think then save. How is this marketed? Oh, it's already there. Like think about when you save money in a bank. Why do you do it? Oh, it's already there. It's convenient. I trust them. I have a good relationship with them. No, you freaking don't. You have a good relationship with the girl that works at the front desk and gets paid $15 an hour. The CEO of that bank would cut your head off if that's what it took to make his next million. The dude does not give a crap about you. You go talk to Jamie Dimon, he will slit your throat in a back alley to make a profit. You're never going to see that because he's not the one in the front desk. It's the girl that they pay $15 an hour to smile and be cordial. Right? But look at what they do. Look at their criminal history. Look at the fines that they pay. Look at any documentary you want to look at on banks and Wall Street. These are not good people. But they know how to appear good. They know good PR. The Rothschild family, not good people. We can all agree to that. Their number one thing was public relations. Like they were masters at that. That was something that they focused on almost more than banking because it allowed them to do all the shady stuff they did with banking. Nobody would ever suspect them of it because they had such good public relations. They knew how to appear safe and friendly and trustworthy and reliable and like this established family so that behind the scenes, they could finance wars. They could make, whatever they wanted to make happen and make countries go to battle against each other so that they could profit on both sides of basically two groups killing each other. They're suppressive, right? But it doesn't appear that way. So you don't have a good relationship with your bank. Your money goes there naturally, automatically, not even your choice. Think about how the hell does that work? How powerful do you have to be to mandate every single paycheck from every single business and every single job goes to you first? Like, have you ever thought about the magnitude of how much power that is? Like, think about if you apply this to somewhere else, let's say food. Let's say there was a group of restaurants that had it mandated that every single hungry person had to go eat there first. And there was no choice. When you were hungry, you automatically got teleported into one of their restaurants against your will. It wasn't something you even asked for. And then you had the option to leave, but now you're already there. You might as well eat, right? That's not freedom. You might feel like you have it because they're like, yeah, you could take your money out and put it somewhere else. Okay, I have a client in July. He wired $500,000 for an investment. He had to call and ask his bank for permission. His bank then had to call the Federal Reserve and ask for permission so that he could wire his own damn money into an investment that wasn't the bank. Like, realize what I just said. He put his money in the bank. That's no longer, like, if I put it in and can't take it out, that means it's no longer mine. If I park my car in my garage and can't get my car back out of my garage because I have to ask permission, that wasn't my garage, and now that's not my car. That's what's happening with the bank. Why am I giving them my money? Because it's automated, right? So we talk about knowledge and behavior, helps a ton with this, helps a ton with this. But when we get to the save, it also comes down to then the tools, right? So we've heard this phrase, it's not just what you make, it's what you keep. Okay, I add to that, it's not just what you keep, it's where you keep it. Where are you keeping the money? Where you're saving, right? You're saving it where? You're saving it in the bank. Okay, well, what's really happening there? When you save it in a bank, they're paying you 0.01% per year. By the way, you're going to pay taxes on that if you have more than $10 of interest. Ta-da! Like the IRS is at it again, right? These guys are in business together. This is a cartel. There's a reason everything they do impacts and benefits the other party. Not you, but the other party, right? So I'm going to get paid 0.01% in a bank, okay? What are they doing? Are they keeping it there and keeping it safe? No. They literally are legal hedge funds. Okay, they put legislation into place that says they can trade stocks, they can trade foreign currency, they can loan my deposits out to other people. The reserve requirement on deposits is now 0%. This happened in March of 2020, the same day the market crashed, the same day COVID started, 0%. Meaning when I put money in the bank, they do not have to keep any of it. They can loan out 100% of my dollars. Okay, it used to be 10%, which means that they had to keep it for every dollar I put in, they had to keep a dime in reserve, right? They don't even have to do that anymore. So they're loaning out all of my money. I invest in foreign currency. I have a 50-50 split with the guy I invest he keeps half the profit. I keep half the profit. He pays me about 40% a year in profit on trading, which means he makes about 80% gross. So I know banks are making at least that. On every dollar I put in, they can make at least 80% because that's what I could go make. You know, if I didn't have that 50-50 profit split, I can make 80%. So their guy is better than my guy. They have the best people in the world doing the foreign currency trading. They probably are making 100%. So I put in $1, they can double it and pay me 0.01%. And then if they lose my money, they have legislature in place that says they are forced and obligated to do what's called a bail-in before the government will bail them out. What is a bail-in? They keep all the deposits. Okay, this happened in Europe in the financial crisis in 2011. People couldn't take money out of the bank. They were limited. I think it was $25 a day was the most you could take out of your account. Okay, completely legal. This is how it works with banks. If they mess up and they lose the money, they just keep the deposits. They have to do that first before the government will kick in. Okay, well, it does kick in. Let's say the FDIC insurance comes in and the bailouts come in. Number one, it's underfunded. Number two, it's taxpayer funded. They don't have enough money to cover everyone. And also, it's your money in the first place. Your taxes are going to go up. You're going to fail. They're going to fail. You're going to fund their out ethics decisions. Why would I keep money there? Okay, so I want to do this instead. I don't want to give money to a bank. I want to become my own bank, right? Become the bank. Okay, how do I do that? I'm not going to tell you literally go start a bank. To start a bank, I think at the state level, you need at least $5 million. You need a state charter. You probably have to start as a credit union, not a bank. And it's going to be this whole process. I'm not telling you go literally become a bank. Right? This is not one of those if you can't beat them, join them situations. So we're not going to literally become a bank. We're going to become like a bank. We're going to practice the same things, right? So what is it that a bank actually does? There's 4 things that happen with the bank, okay? There are deposits. There are loans. Right. So these are actually, let's call these 4 groups. This is an easier way to look at this. So we have depositors, borrowers, bankers, and owners. Okay. Everyone in the country that earns a paycheck is a depositor, right? puts money in bank, right? Deposits the money. This is the function of this role. This is what they do. Okay, so they deposit the money into the bank. The banker now has control over this person's deposit. We can all agree on this. We know that they can loan the money out. They can invest the money, right? They can make profit on it. Now we have the borrower. This is the guy that's like, hey, I want to borrow money for a mortgage or for a car or for a business, right? This is the borrower. Okay, so this guy borrows money. What is he borrowing? He's borrowing the deposit, right? So the deposit went in, and then somebody else is coming in and borrowing the deposit. A funny way to look at it is, let's say that you deposit, $300,000 into a checking account with the bank, and then you go to that same bank and you get a mortgage for $300,000. In a weird roundabout way, you just borrowed your own money from them. Now you don't benefit. You could have just used your own 300 grand, but they're going to take your 300 grand. They're going to go trade with it and invest and do all this stuff, right? And make all this profit. And then you're going to pay them 3% interest on a mortgage to use 300 grand you had with them in the first place. Okay. So we have the depositor, the borrower. The borrower is literally borrowing the deposits. We have the bankers. So they're charging interest. And they are investing. What are they charging interest and investing on? The deposits. So when this guy borrows the deposit and pays the interest, it goes to the banker. When they go and invest in real estate or foreign currency, it goes to the banker. Like, he's investing and charging the interest. Then we have the owners. What are the owners doing? They are earning dividends. Okay, I want to explain what a dividend is. So when a company is profitable, they typically are going to project where their profitability will be. How profitable are we going to be this year? How much money are we going to keep after bills, after expenses, before taxes? They're going to try and predict all of that. So they're going to set their projection. If they exceed that projection, that is a surplus. We plan to have $10 million. We actually have 12. We have a surplus of $2 million now. Okay. That surplus typically is given back to the shareholders, the owners of the company, and it's called a dividend, right? Like, we divide it up and we send it out to the shareholders. So it's surplus profit divvied up amongst the shareholders or the owners of the company. So the owners earn a dividend. What are they earning a dividend on? The profitable banking activities of the enterprise. When they make money on interest, investing, and their surpluses are higher than their profit expectations, hey, let's kick a dividend over to our shareholders. Right? So that's what's happening here. This is the banking system. Everybody gets to be a depositor without your choice, right? Like, your money is going to go to a bank at some point. Okay. Some people are going to get to be a borrower based on credit, based on income, right? That they get to discriminate who can borrow, who can't. Why? Because they want to do loans with those that are going to pay. Okay. So not everyone gets to be a borrower. Some people do. Very few people get to be a banker, right? Like who do you know in your life that's a banker? I don't know that many actual bankers. I think maybe I can count a handful, but I don't have a bunch of friends that are bankers. That's not something that we usually like, oh, I know a bunch of bankers. Like, that's not a normal thing. Okay. So very few people get to be a banker. Even fewer get to be owners of a bank, shareholders in the bank. They earn dividends on the profit. I think I know maybe one or two people in my entire life right now that I can say that person literally owns a bank, right? So what I'm telling you is you should go be all four. Now, how do we do that? We can't do that by giving the money to banks in Wall Street, right? Now, first thing I want to answer is, why would you go be all four? What does that mean? So if we use like the life insurance example, you're going to use a sacred account. You're going to deposit money into it. Okay. I think I have this in my book. So let me read to you really quick what this says. Okay. Because this is game changing. Okay. So I think this is on towards the end of the book here. One more chapter. Okay, so this is a chapter called Understanding Money. This is my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. So what about the sacred account? So basically, here's what this looks like. This is going to be page 112, right? So it kind of goes through, we just talked about banks only pay 0.10% interest. Now it's 0.01, so it's even lower, right? So if I'm going to put money somewhere, let's say I'm going to save money somewhere, earn, save, invest. I need to save. Saving is important. Where am I going to save? Let's not do banks. Let's not do Wall Street. Let's not do IRS plans, right? So I'd want to put it somewhere that helps me fight inflation. Okay, this would be something I would want. I would want to help, I want to see it's growing more and it's not paying me 0.01%. It's contributing to help me fight inflation. I wouldn't want to lose money. Okay, this would be important. I don't want to lose money. Third, it would need to have a longer track record than paper dollars, right? Like the dollar will fail. It has failed. In 1971, that was a failure of the dollar. We switched to a non-gold backed dollar, meaning the gold backed dollar failed. We were now on a new currency at that point. Most people don't see it that way, right? We're about to be on another one soon. It'll be digital. So I want to make sure that it's got a longer track record than a dollar. The life insurance checks that box off. Okay, a life insurance policy, if you get one through the companies we work with, they've been around 150, 170, some even longer years. That predates the central banking system, which has only been around since 1913. See what I mean? The track record's there. I'd want to be able to do what banks do, right? So I want to be able to grow my money in multiple locations at the same time. This is called fractional reserve banking. That's that 0% deposit requirement by borrowing against what's been deposited. So what is this? Someone deposits money into a bank. The bank then, borrows against that person's deposit, pays them 0.01% for that loan. That's a loan between the bank and the depositor right here. And then the bank reloans that money to this guy and charges him what? 3%, 5%, 10% if it's a credit card, 18, or they just say, I'm going to go invest. I'm going to borrow the deposits and go invest instead. Okay. So I'd want to be able to do that by borrowing against what's been deposited while still earning interest on the initial deposit and then invest the same money simultaneously in another asset that pays me as well. So life insurance, what does this have to do with anything? I can put money in a life insurance policy and deposit it. It's going to grow at 3 to 5% tax-free. Annually, right? I said at the very beginning, compounding annual growth rate. The compounding annual growth rate of the life insurance is 3 to 5%. I can then loan myself from day one, 70 to 90% of what I've deposited. My interest cost is going to be about 1 to 3%, which I'm going to pay to the insurance company, which I'm an owner of. So I benefit from paying interest to a business that I own, but I'm still earning the 3 to 5 and avoiding the taxes because I'm borrowing instead of withdrawing. Right? So I have a spread of profit here. If I'm making 5% and I'm paying 3%, I make 2% profit to borrow my own money. You see that? I'm already starting to do what the banks do. I can then take that money I've borrowed from my life insurance policy. Now I'm being the banker. I could invest that or I could loan it out. Right? What does it look like loaning it out? I like to do private lending deals where I have an investment fund. They're going to pay me 8, 10, 12% interest to borrow my money to go invest in real estate. And it's secured by the assets. So they're paying me that interest. It's secured by real assets. That's literally what a bank does. That is a mortgage. I'm, step for step being the bank here. Okay. Or I might invest it. I might say, okay, I'm going to take a policy loan. It's going to cost me, 1 to 3% interest. I'm still making 3 to 5. So that's covered, right? But I'm going to go invest it and I'm going to do the Forex deal that pays me my 40%. Okay. This for sure is riskier. It's not backed by anything. So I'm not going to put everything in that basket, but it's an option, right? In Q4 of 2020, JP Morgan Chase, the bank, had their most profitable quarter ever. I want you to think about this. While we were all locked at home, couldn't do anything, our incomes were dropping, JP Morgan had their most profitable fourth quarter ever. Their number one profit center was what? Foreign currency trading. Number one way that they made money that year. Okay, insane how much we can duplicate, right? Now, am I literally a bank? No, I don't have a state or federal charter to be a bank. Am I being like a bank? Yes, I'm doing very similar things and duplicating the functions of a bank. Okay, so I have all this happening. I'm the depositor. I'm the banker. I'm even the borrower. I'm borrowing against my own deposits at this point. I could do something like if I want to literally be the borrower, I could self-finance a vehicle. If I want to go buy a car, instead of paying cash, where I lose the value of it. Why don't I take a loan against my policy, go buy the car, make a car payment back to myself as the bank paying my loan off? At the end, I've got the car that's paid off. I've got all the money that I saved in making car payments to myself. And also the money I took out in the first place grew like it never left. Right? Think about this. Like, this is how this works. Now, what is the owner's thing? So I already showed you, I'm the depositor, I'm the borrower, I'm the banker, I'm the owner. Okay. The owner, when I do a life insurance policy with a company, it's called a mutual company. They literally make me a shareholder in the company. Like, I'm an equity partner with Guardian Life Insurance Company because I have a policy with them. They pay me dividends every year based on what? Their surplus profit. It works exactly the same, right? So someone's like, well, why would I pay interest to myself? Because you own the bank. You own the bank, you're paying the interest to. You get everyone that takes a policy loan is going to pay interest to the insurance company, and you make profit on that. You want more people taking policy loans. Like, this is your company. You want them making money. If I owned a gas station, I would go buy gas at my own gas station, right? I wouldn't go somewhere else. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not going to pay for my own gas. I'm going to go across the street and pay my competitors. No, I'm going to go buy for my own station. Now, am I going to give myself free gas? No, I'm not going to do that either. I'm not going to steal from my business so that I can say I got free gas. I didn't get free gas. The cost still came out and no income came in. That's a bad business decision. No different than this. I take a policy loan. I'm going to pay interest to the company that I own. It's my insurance company now. I'm a shareholder, right? I'm going to pay interest. I'm going to pay it back, just like the borrower would be expected to. If a bank borrows against their own deposits, they're going to pay it back too. Right? This is where the education comes in. Like I said, it's production, not consumption. Someone might look at this and like, oh, that's too hard. I don't want to pay interest. That's because you're being a consumer. I don't want to have a cost. I don't want there to be something I've got to provide. I don't want there to be any take. I want it to, or any give. I want it to be all take. I want the 3 to 5 in this, and I don't want to ever have to pay the loan back. Then don't do the banking system. Keep giving your money to Wall Street. Keep putting it in regular banks. That's not how this works. Right? Like I said, this is the real world. There has to be exchange, right? So if I take a loan, I have to pay the loan back. There's going to be interest. Now, what am I paying the interest for? I own the company. I make dividends on that. Makes me more profitable. Still earning my 3 to 5%, which is greater than my cost of borrowing. And because I'm paying interest, I don't have to pay taxes. Would you rather pay taxes or would you rather pay interest to a company you own and still make money on the money like it never left? I would rather do number 2, right? So what does this have to do with the fundamental of wealth building? Guys, as soon as you earn, the money is going to go somewhere. It should go here, okay? The number 1 owner and number 1 purchaser of whole life insurance in the entire country, banks. I'm not even kidding. Over $200 billion in life insurance cash value between the largest banks in the country. Okay, Bank of America's balance sheet, I've actually seen, they have more money in life insurance cash value than they own in real estate. They have, like, just Bank of America, $22 billion in whole life insurance cash value. The number 1 buyer and number 1 owner are banks. We're giving money to banks. What are they doing? They're putting it in this exact thing. All the things I tell you guys about as clients, you should own life insurance. Why? Because when you give money to banks, they're going and buying life insurance. You should do private lending. Why? Because when you give money to banks, they're loaning money out on mortgages. You should do foreign currency trading. Why? Because when you give money to banks, they're doing foreign currency trading. This isn't my stuff, guys. We're literally just copying what the banks do and what they've been doing forever. Right? When I was a financial advisor, I was on the consumer side of this. I didn't see the behind the curtains on what they actually do until I started to look and started to research it. Okay. So I want to give you a quick summary of this. When you put money in a sacred account, you put $1 in as a deposit. This dollar is going to grow forever for the rest of your life at a 3 to 5% annual return. Okay. It's tax-free. So it's also not only like, and I don't want to put out too many things here on this, but this is also like not only a great strategy, it's the safest place you could put your cash reserves. Like literally the safest. Okay. It can't be taxed. It's guaranteed against loss. It's guaranteed to grow. Okay. Now the guarantee is only as good as the guarantor. Life insurance has never been taxed, has always made money, and has never lost money, at least the kind we're talking about, the sacred account, every single year for 170 years in a row since they started. Meaning in the Great Depression, they made money, they didn't pay taxes, they didn't lose. Okay, in 2020, they made money, they didn't pay taxes on policies, and they didn't lose. Right? Like this is something like it's not like I could start a new product today and be like, oh, it's guaranteed, and I could advertise it, but we could still lose money in 2 years. You don't know because there's no track record. But when we're like, oh yeah, every single year for 170 years, it's managed to do all three of these things without missing a beat. Every year, not all the years except for when the times were rough. No, every single year. That's 3 generations of humans, 170 years. Like maybe even there's 4, there's younger people in there. That's a lot of time that happened where we have consistency. This is more consistent than the dollar. This is more consistent than the stock market. This is more consistent than most people's real estate portfolios, right? So making 3 to 5%, I put $1 in, I'm making 3 to 5% on this dollar. I can borrow 70 to 90% of this dollar from day one, still earn the 3 to 5. My cost to borrow is going to be 1 to 3% in interest that I'm going to pay on a policy loan, right? So there's my cost, but I'm still making the 3 to 5. Now I take this money I've borrowed and I can do things like pay off debts. Okay, if I have debt, I can pay off my debt and I can save the interest. I can make large purchases. Like I did with my car, my couch back here. I self-financed that couch with my life insurance policy. It was like 3 or 4 grand. And it's like, okay, I could pay cash or I could take a policy loan and make money on my couch, right? I would rather make money on my couch. That's kind of cool if you ask me. So large purchases, I did that with my Audi. I do that with as many things as I can possibly do. So I could pay off debt. I could make large purchases. I could loan it out. I could invest, right? These are all things I could do with this now. And this is why I say this is foundational. If I'm in the phase of paying off debt, I should be using a sacred account. If I'm in the phase of saving up for a car or a house or whatever, I should be using a sacred account for that. If I'm in the phase of wanting passive income and I want to become a private lender, I should be using a sacred account for that. If I'm in the phase of investing and I want to start doing foreign currency trading or buying businesses or whatever, I should be using my sacred account for that. Guess what I also use mine for? I use mine for personal development. When I invest in myself, I expect that I'm going to have my income increase. So I take policy loans to fund that, right? And then I pay myself back on a loan schedule based on my increased income. It forces me to go make money, right? This is everything. Now, here's the other thing on this. If you don't do this, you're going to use an actual bank for all these things. You're going to use your bank, your actual bank for debt. They're going to make the money on the interest, not you. When you do a large purchase, you're either going to save the money in a bank account, which they're going to benefit from, or you're going to borrow their money on a loan, which they're going to benefit from again, not you. Okay. You want to loan money out, like you're going to take money that you saved up in a bank account or borrowed from a bank, and you're going to loan it out to other people. They're going to benefit again. You want to invest, you're going to do something with the bank at some point. Wall Street and banks might as well be the same thing. Okay. They're intermixed and intertwined. Like when you say, okay, I have, a mutual fund. Yes, that's Wall Street. Right. So let's say I have American funds. A lot of people have an American funds, IRA or 401k at work. Okay. American funds, that's Wall Street, right? That's a fund company. Okay. Well, American funds is affiliated with Capital Bank and Trust, CB and T. On all their forms, you're going to see CB and T, Capital Bank and Trust. American funds is Capital Bank and Trust. It's the same thing. Right. So when you realize this, it's like every single thing I do, if I don't use a sacred account, it's benefiting banks and Wall Street, and it's not benefiting me. Right? Like, don't forget, and some of you guys are older than I am. I'm smart enough to look at history. In 2008, I was in high school, right? I was not only in high school, I was in high school in Alaska. We didn't have a 2008, but I was smart enough to be looking around, and I became a financial advisor pretty quick after that. When I looked back, what I saw was banks and Wall Street screwed everyone over on purpose, took people's homes, lost jobs, suicides, homelessness, all this stuff was created on purpose by banks and Wall Street so that they can make a profit. If you watch the movie The Big Short, 2008 was completely and entirely intentional. Okay. 2008 gets done, wraps up, and here's a couple things that happen as a result. The banks get bailed out for practicing unethical behavior. They get bailed out by the government. Okay. What does that mean? You paid for the banks to get bailed out. They screwed you over and then got bailed out with your money. That should piss us off. We should be like, I'm boycotting banks. I'm never giving them another dollar again. I'm never giving Wall Street another dollar again. But no, it gets better. They took the bailout money and did what? They paid themselves bonuses with it. They didn't fix the system. They paid themselves bonuses with the bailout money. Like, how sick can you be? Then they pinned it all on, literally, there was one guy that went to prison in 2008. He was like a middle manager, did nothing, had nothing to do with it. This is who they pinned it on. Okay. Not only that, then the Secretary of Treasury becomes Hank Paulson, the former CEO of Lehman Brothers. The guy that they hired to clean it all up is the guy that started all of it. Like, just think about this. Why are you giving them your money? You have a better option. You can be using a sacred account. You can be using the exact strategy that they use. If you don't believe me, go Google it. Go Google bank-owned life insurance. BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. You'll see that banks own billions and billions and billions of dollars in this stuff. Okay. Not only banks, if you've been to Disneyland is existing today because of a life insurance policy. Walt Disney couldn't get a loan. He took a life insurance policy from his cash value to start Disneyland. Okay. Same thing with McDonald's. If you've been through a McDonald's drive-through, McDonald's was funded by Ray Kroc through a life insurance policy loan. Okay. JCPenney, if you've ever bought clothing from JCPenney, they would have went out of business in the 1930s if James Cash Penney didn't take a policy loan to cover his payroll to keep his doors open. Okay. If you've ever bought Foster Farms chicken, that business was started with a life insurance policy loan. If you've ever used Pampered Chef Tupperware, that business was funded by a life insurance policy loan. Joe Biden owns 6 of these, guys. Someone was asking me, I want to address a question real quick. Someone was asking me with the whole crypto and the executive orders, what's going to happen with life insurance? Absolutely nothing. That has to do with digital, right? So all the digital currencies and all that, that's what's going to get regulated. Like I said, Joe Biden has 6 life insurance policies. In 2020, the very last day of the year, I think it was literally December 31st. I've told this story before. They pushed a spending bill through, a budget bill, to give out more like COVID-related subsidies. Guess what was in that bill? Mass Mutual life insurance policy got together with the other large mutual life insurance policies and lobbied a rider into the bill to lower their insurance costs, their guarantees, and increase their MEC space so that more money could be put into life insurance policies. That has nothing to do with COVID. Like, what? Like, think about, like, we have a pandemic, and it's like, oh, it's also really important to make sure that high net worth individuals can put more money in life insurance policies. We should probably put that in the bill. Like, this is something that's been around longer than anything else you're using. And it's never failed. Here's the thing, like, when people speculate, when we get into like, you know, the meme stocks and crypto and buying whatever Elon buys, it's because people fail. We know the 401k didn't work. We know that the home ownership dream didn't work. We know that all the stuff we've been told hasn't worked. So we're looking for new things. That's why people are constantly looking for new things, because they know the current stuff doesn't work, right? Well, what have they overlooked? They don't know about the sacred account. Okay. You don't have to go speculate and try new things. Go here. Almost 200 years track record of boom, 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 boom. Everything we say it's going to do, it's done. It's never lost. It's only gained. You can't get taxed on it. That's all happened for almost 200 years now. We don't need to go find a new solution. This one already works. Okay. So guys, I want to wrap up here. I will answer some questions. If you're watching this and you're a client and you do not yet have a sacred account, this is your mission. Get one today. Like, reach out to my team, reach out to me personally if you need to. It's my mission to make sure you have one. If you're not a client, get the book. Okay, get the book. This was a great webinar, a great training, I know, but that's literally this much, right? Get the book, go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, get the book, get set up with that today. And then, you know, if you're a client already and you already have a sacred account, I want to ask you, what's next? Where are we at? Are we paying off debt? Are we saving up for a large purchase? You know, are we trying to invest? What are we doing with the sacred account? And the reason I say it's foundational is because you're going to use it for literally everything for the rest of your life, right? You're going to earn income. It should immediately go to the sacred account, immediately, not the bank account. And now you can't set it up to where your employer pays it to the sacred account. I wish you could. It's still going to go to your checking account, but the next day, boom, you should be transferring that. You should be putting that into your sacred account right away. Okay, so I want to open this up for questions really quick and just see if we have any on Facebook and on Zoom. So let me check out Facebook first. Good to see everyone. I've got some good feedback on Saturday being the day for the course. Loretta says Saturdays work better. Awesome. Lawrence, good to see you. Andrew Davis, good to see you. Alex, good to see you. All right, so let me check in on some Zoom questions. On Zoom, guys, I like to talk with you. I'm the CEO and I don't always get to talk to clients. I did a couple weeks ago to get to make some calls out. So there was a few of you that I got to call. Generally speaking, we have over 1,500 clients and I don't get to talk to everyone. This is my moment to be able to chat. So if you have questions, I want to go live with you, answer your questions and just connect with you for a second. Good. Carlos has a question. So Carlos, I'm actually going to try and unmute you. This is Carlos Roque. He has a question about the insurance on deposits. I'm going to go ahead and bring Carlos on and just unmute his mic here. So we'll see if we can go live with Carlos.
Hi, Jerry.
All right, I think we're live with Carlos. How are you, Carlos?
Hey, Jerry. Good. Thank you. Great seminar today too. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's good to connect with you. What's your question?
The question was specifically about FDIC insurance in a sacred account. Is there, how is the money insured there as compared to a bank account with FDIC insurance?
Yeah, very good question. So there's two answers to that. The first one is that the insurance companies have much higher reserve requirements. So an example of this would be New York Life Insurance Company. Their total worth, like their total assets as a business, I think it's close to $400 billion. If you look at their reserves, just what they have in cash, they have, I think, 20 or 30 billion just in cash reserves. That's not even, and that's just reserves. That's not even their policy obligations. The money that they know they have to pay out on policies, they actually count that on their books as a liability. So they're required to actually have that money there. So they're actually, fully solvent. So they have, their self-reserve, self-insurance. Beyond that, they have what's called the State Guarantee Association. So each life insurance policy at a state level, I believe it's $400,000 worth of insurance. So it's actually higher than FDIC insurance. And that pays out on a state level. So when you look at the mutual companies, and that's why I don't go with the new small guys. I don't want to go with, somebody that's not actually being used by the banks. The banks usually stick with Mass Mutual, Guardian, New York Life, Northwestern Mutual. Those are really the ones they focus on. And so those are companies that have been around 170, 180 years, and they're not going anywhere. So that's kind of the self-insurance. And also they do have the State Guarantee Association. We have this question from Steve D on dividends. Let me bring Steve on. Okay, I can't unmute Steve. So let me just read Steve's question. So Steve asks, aren't the dividends you earn part of the 3 to 5 you get in the deposits category? Yes. So there's guaranteed interest. So these are gross numbers. When I tell you 3 to 5, that's net. Like that's like on a compounding annual growth rate basis. It's the net numbers. The gross numbers, meaning before you pay for any like costs, fees, reinvestment, whatever. You get a guaranteed rate of, I believe, 3% on policies. It might be 3.5% now. I really don't pay attention to the guarantee because it's never just been the guarantee. But the guarantee is usually like 3.5% of just interest. You're going to get that regardless of the insurance company's dividend. Then the dividend surplus is the other factor. That's usually going to be, an additional 1 to 3%, depending on how profitable the insurance company is that year. All of that blends together and it averages out at about a 3 to 5% compounding annual growth rate. So you do separately get, you deposit money, you get a guaranteed interest rate. And also in addition to that, you get profit based on the dividend surplus of the insurance company. For me, I like to keep it simple. I just look at, if I take the two and I average it, it's 3 to 5% that I'm going to see each year. Lauren says, thanks, Jerry. This is an important session. Very grateful to you and everyone at Wealth Dynamics for your commitment and support. Absolutely my pleasure, Lawrence. This is a passion and purpose thing for me. So I love helping. My team does too. I know you're a client and we're working with you on some of these things. So I'm very excited about that. Christina says, I still need the email. So Christina, email Samantha@wealthdynamics.com. So Steve has a really good question. Steve says, my only reservation is all policies I've heard about, the loan against the policy is greater than the earnings. Steve makes a really good point. So let me share with you let me share with you, Steve, what you're seeing, because that's a very true observation. So this, honestly, this is on the life insurance agents themselves. They advertise this and they don't know what the hell they're talking about usually. So they're going to tell you, oh, the dividend is 6 to 8%, which is a true statement. When a company declares a dividend, generally it's going to be 6 to 8%. And they're going to say, okay, Steve, your loan interest rate is only 5%. Right? Now, when I look at this is misleading because I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to earn 6 to 8 and only pay 5. I automatically make profit here. Okay, well, 6 to 8% on what? I can design a policy that has zero cash value. It all goes to base premium, and sure, it pays a 6 to 8% dividend on zero, right? I could design high early cash value where I own a lot less death benefit. I'm going to get 6 to 8% on a lot less shares. And so really my net is going to be about 3 to 5. Okay. So if I'm earning 3 to 5 and I take out a policy loan and that's just all I do, I'm losing money, right? Like, especially if it's 3. If I'm 5, it's literally just covering its own cost. So I would venture as far to say, even with the infinite banking concept and the life insurance being set up, I would venture to say probably 90% of policyholders don't actually make money on their loans. Why? Because their agents don't know what they're talking about. They're selling it at, oh, you could do 6 to 8 and this is 5 and then you make money. No, when you actually do it, you lose. Okay. So here's what you've got to do. You got to realize, A, I'm only actually making 3 to 5. B, 5% is my gross interest rate. Okay. Well, let's compare apples to apples. My gross dividend is 6 to 8. My gross interest rate is 5. My net dividend is 3 to 5. What's my net interest rate? So if I pay my loans down early, right? So let's say I have just an easy math. I have $100,000 in cash value. I borrow it out and I invest it at 12% in a deal that's paying passive income. That's paying me $1,000 a month now. I'm going to pay my loan off early with that 1,000. Okay. That's going to reduce my loan balance, therefore reduce my interest. Then the interest dollars that I actually did have to pay, I'm going to write off on my taxes as an investment expense, bringing this down to about 1 to 3%. This is called net effective interest cost. NEI, net effective interest. So this is my gross interest, meaning if I take a loan out and never pay myself back on 100,000, I'm going to pay $5,000 in interest. But if I take a loan back and I pay down $1,000 a month with the income being generated, I'm reducing the principal. 5% is coming off of a smaller and smaller number every month. If I take my total cost of interest, I'm really only going to pay like $1,000 to $3,000 in actual interest plus my tax deduction. That's where it's going to be 1 to 3%. Now the math works. So the rule of thumb is always pay yourself back when you take a policy loan every single time. That's why I don't do things like take a policy loan to buy gold. Gold doesn't pay the loan back. Okay. Now, an investment that produces interest or income definitely does. And so that's where that number comes in a little bit different. Most agents, again, don't know what the hell they're talking about. So they're going to say things like, oh, it's going to be a profitable spread. And so that's something that you've got to know and look at. Really good questions here. So I hope that answers your question, Steve. Nick says, I'm petitioning that Jerry gets the next Nobel Peace Prize. Thanks for having Sacred Account Saturday. I'm saving to pay off $10,000 in debt. That's awesome. Thank you, Nick. Nick is a client that's working with us, and he's using the concept, and he's learning every day. I know Nick is always, educating himself and learning more and more. Mark asks, is there a minimum amount to start the Sacred Account? So there is. On the Sacred Account, the minimum is you need to do at least a $250 a month deposit. So it's not huge. It's $250 a month to start. That's the money you're putting into your account. That's not you're paying us $250 a month. No, that's your deposit into your account. So Mark, send an email to me, jerry@wealthdynamics.com. And I'd be happy to get you connected with my team and get more of your questions answered on that. D. Barnard, is there a certain age at which you think it's too late, not cost effective to start a life insurance policy? Yes. Good question. Yes. If you're older, it is going to be a higher cost of insurance. That being said, I have a client that's 75 years old. We still were able to set one up for him and he was totally fine. Age is a factor, but it's not as bad if you're healthy. So if I'm older and also healthy, it still can work. Now, I can also put the policy on other people. So if I'm older let's say I'm 65, 70, in my 80s, whatever it might be, I can be the owner and insure my kid or my grandkid or my business partner that's younger and healthier. So the insurance cost is cheaper, but I still own and control the policy. I can still practice the banking concept. Okay, Nick says, I noticed on my policy that I can contribute up to 52,000, but my MEC is capped at 10. How does that work? Or am I misunderstanding something? So Nick, it's going to be hard to say without seeing your policy. Email Samantha at wealthdynamics.com, and just ask her the same question, and she'll have our client services team dig into your policy for you and just get you the answer for that question. Cynthia asks, how/where does the insurance company invest to make money? That's a very good question. So with most insurance companies, you can actually go on their website. They fully disclose their financials, which is awesome. So they're going to invest in, a wide variety of things. Again, so if you look at Northwestern Mutual, New York Life, $400 billion in assets, right? So they have a lot of stuff going on. They're going to be in bonds. They're going to be in treasuries. They're going to be in equities. Not like index funds, like we're saying retail financial consumerism. No, they're doing like Warren Buffett style. We're going to go buy, controlling interest in profitable businesses that are publicly traded. We're going to analyze them, control them, understand them, et cetera. So they're going to do that. They also do venture capitalism. They do a lot of real estate loans. So if you're familiar with Grant Cardone, one of the number one places he gets loans for his commercial real estate deals is insurance companies. Mass Mutual even put, I think, 1% of their assets in Bitcoin. Like they have enough money where it's not even diversifying. It's like, we have so much money, we don't know what to do with it. Like Pablo Escobar, perfect example. So much money, he had to start burying it in random places in the jungle. So they have an empire. Pablo didn't have, a financial empire. He didn't have smart decision-making with that. They're putting it into different asset classes. So I hope that answers that. Every company is a little bit different, Cynthia, but that's the general answer. Brian asks, how does a spouse get access to a sacred account if something happens to me? So Brian, it is life insurance. If you died and your spouse was the beneficiary, it would just pay to her tax-free as a death benefit. And then she would just have a tax-free pool of money. The other option is you could do something called a second to die policy, which is basically joint. So if you passed away, she would still be on the policy as a joint holder, and she would still have access to it rather than having it pay out. Cherise says, hey, Jerry, can you explain why you can't deposit your income directly into a sacred account? So that's more, Cherise, that's a good question. That's more of a question on like the payroll protocols for your company, right? So if you have, like, let's say your paycheck coming in, they're going to say, where do you want us to direct deposit it to? And then you've got to give them a bank account and routing number. A sacred account does not have a bank account and routing number. And so you can't have them send money there. It's got to first go to your personal bank. Then you can do a transfer. Right. So it's kind of like, just the nature of payroll. Your company is going to give you a direct deposit form, and you have to put an account and routing number for them to pay you. From there, you're free to put it wherever you want to put it. Steve says, I have an Excel sheet on this and it doesn't seem to be that way. Nano couldn't quite answer my question. Can I discuss this with you offline? You seem more understanding. Sure, Steve, send me an email, jerry@wealthdynamics.com. And I'd be happy to talk this over with you. Good. I think that's all the questions. Cynthia says, awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Love Sacred Account Saturday. Thank you so much for being on, everyone. Okay, good last question. Cynthia says, if we're not using a bank, what tools are we using to handle the day-to-day financial responsibilities? So Cynthia, that is the one time you will have to use the bank, is just paying your bills, right? So the Sacred Account is for investing. We have to pay our bills in cash. Cash is literally owned and controlled by the banking system. So the Federal Reserve Bank is a private corporation. The shareholders in the Federal Reserve Bank are the largest banks in the US. So the company that issues our dollars literally are the banks. So if we're paying bills, we're paying taxes, we have to pay those in dollars. We can't really do that via a life insurance policy. So my rent, I just pay that on my bank account or my credit card and just pay it with cash, right? Day-to-day stuff, it's just going to be cash. Saving, investing, that's where I'm pulling it out of the banking system because that's mine. I'm going to control it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to grow it long-term. Okay, a couple more questions. Brian asks, what's the fastest turn and burn investments you're borrowing and paying back on over and over? So good question. I don't like fast. with investing, fast usually equals risky. So like for me, I'm going to take, you know, 100 grand and put that in a private lending deal for 5 years that pays me 12%. And then I'm going to earn, my turn and burn is actually my active income, right? I'm going to earn as much money as I possibly can and save as much money as I possibly can. So I can do more and more of those deals, because each one of those 100 grand investments pays me $1,000 a month, right? So if I can get 10 of those, that's 10 grand a month that I have coming from 10 different deals, right? It's not necessarily turn and burn. If I put it in this one, it pays me back really quick and then I put it back out again. That's more speculative. That's going to be more risky. Okay, good. I don't see any other questions. Actually, there might be one more. Nope, answered that one. Okay, let me just check Facebook one more time. Guys, otherwise, if there's no other questions, we will be wrapping things up. Again, if you have not gotten a copy of my book, go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. You can get a free copy there. Excuse me. You can get a free copy there. If you do not have a Sacred account yet, be sure to get one set up. Reach out to my team, reach out to me, and we'll be happy to do that for you and get that rolling. Otherwise, we will be back again next Saturday for another Sacred Account Saturday session. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And that I will see you guys. There is a Monday call with Nano as well. I want to just go ahead and plug this. Nano, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Money Monday. He's going over the book Liar's Poker. If you're investing in Wall Street, you need to be reading this book and on that call, listening to what Nano has to say. It's going to blow your mind. That's 4 p.m. Eastern time, Monday. Otherwise, thank you guys all. I will see you next time.